Hello, everyone. Today is, what is today? Today's December 18th, 2022. Day 3614, daily art day for myself. And today we're going to be painting some clouds. Actually, we're going to be doing a lot of looking at clouds from real images, photos of clouds and mountains, and then also from other artists, and really kind of understanding clouds themselves. This is some understanding that I definitely don't have, and so we're going to try and gain it on this live stream. Basically, what's happened with this painting I have here is I've repainted these clouds multiple times, and yeah, they're not working. They're just not working at all. So we're going to look at a bunch of things to try and fix that, to try and help it in some way, if we can. Actually, I was working on this painting yesterday a bit more, and I saw some clouds that I liked, and I popped them in here real quick. Well, real quick. It actually took me a bit of time to put these clouds in. And as I look at them, I don't like them at all. And I guess the first thing I want to do here is I want to get rid of these clouds, because I also want to look at the possibility of having the piece without clouds at all. Let me lower the contrast on this a bunch, so it's not so thick and juicy. So this is what we're going to do right now. I'm going to throw some color in here to cover up these clouds, and then I'm going to blend it all together to look more like the sky that I want. But I'm going to keep some of the variation of color within this sky. I don't like everything being, this very kind of digital one color thing. I like the variation throughout. Unfortunately, this is all on one layer, so I have to be careful not to go right over my mountain. And be like, oops, Control Z, that's so good. Alright, that's a good cover up. So I'm gonna drop into my, what is this brush called? Blender. My blender brush. And kind of blend this down a bit. Actually, that's a bit too much, I think. I still want that texture there. Or at least some of that texture. So let's do this. I wonder if I can just use a regular brush and kind of go over it to keep some of the texture. Somewhat. Let's adjust the brush that we have, because I'm getting more and more into this brush adjustment to have the texture, yet have a lot less of it. The one thing that I've noticed on, when you're adjusting the brush mode here, because what I'm actually adjusting is this stamp for the brush. If I adjust the contrast, I also have to adjust the brightness and the neutral point, because it actually affects the color. See how it's darker? So if I pick this color here, it'll come in a bit darker than it's supposed to be, so I need to brighten it up some. Oh, brighten it up way too much. It's a very subtle thing. Drop the... And then let me see if I zoom in on here, what kind of texture I get. Yeah, that's nice. It still has some of that texture, but not as much. But I need to bring it back out so I can work in a broader area. But I think that'll be good. That's one thing I'll say, like learning how to create your own brush has kind of unlocked another level for me on digital art, really. And I'm still learning. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not something that you just do once and then stop messing with. It's there's so much to it. I mean, there's years and years of development within that from other people, and so gaining a better understanding of it would take more time. So I need to get some mid-tones because this blend is taking too long. And press a little bit lighter. So I get these kind of middle tones, and then I can pull out a middle tone and continue to press lighter. And then pull out that tone. There we go. Getting rid of all those clouds that aren't working so we can prepare the canvas for new clouds coming in. Hopefully. I mean, it could be something where, it's just not working and I say let's move on and don't have any clouds. Because it's not too bad without clouds. I mean, as long as I can get this blending in well. Sorry, not talking right now, just focusing on blending that sky back. And I got two different colors. One for the left side of the mountain, one for the right side. I'm gonna have to bite the bullet and paint over the mountain a little bit. That's fine, we can bring it back. Okay. Now let's bring that mountain back real quick. I'm going to go back to full texture on this brush. And then I need to pull out those really light tones again. I need to adjust the pressure on this brush. Let me see where that's at. Because what's happening is if I barely press, nothing happens, but I have to hit it really hard in order for anything to kind of happen with it. Like it goes from nothing to everything right away. I don't think it's opacity, it's not size. Flow, maybe? Yeah, I could see that. Nothing to everything really quickly. Let's adjust that. Let's do a nice just straight angle. Let's see what that's like. Yeah, that's a little bit better. I think I need a more organic angle. Yeah, I feel like nothing's happening there. Let me see, I'll put it on a different color. Yeah, super light, nothing's happening. I need to have something going on there. Yeah, there you go. So I should be able to get a nice, super light. And then as I'm pressing harder and harder, and this, when I say harder, I mean this is just super subtle pressing down and then really hard there at the end. Yeah, that's what I should be able to achieve, yeah. And still at the beginning there, it's a little wonky. Getting so subtle with these brush changes. Okay, I'm gonna overwrite brush preset. So that's the default. Let me look what I got on that. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted. Getting that really subtle light that I can kind of play down. So what's nice about that is I can pick out like a really, a saturated orange that doesn't really belong up here. And kind of throw it down lightly. It would probably be a little bit more saturated than that. I'm still getting some jumps on the pressure. Maybe it's something I need to get used to. And then I can go over it with this lighter color. Just really subtle. For a nicer transition. All right, we're back to the base now. I'm going to create a new layer, and before we get into the clouds, we're actually going to look at images, doing cloud research. So yeah, I'm going to be on the internet, which is kind of dangerous sometimes on streams, I would guess. I did a search for Everest sunrise. And, the one thing that I'm noticing with clouds a lot, and I do want to say thank you to Matthew Condon, who sent me a message and was talking about the clouds and really giving me some great feedback on, some critical feedback on my painting here. And saying that basically my clouds are too high because most of the images he looks at, the clouds are really low, especially if the mountain is really high. And I've kind of seen, when I'm looking at images, I see both. I see clouds that are kind of, low on the horizon in some ways and high. Um, so it's kind of, there's both possibilities. This is Everest, the highest mountain on the planet. Here's a little tiny image, and it shows, distant clouds, so they're really high up in the sky. But the one thing that I'll notice all the time, and it could be, photographers choosing to take photos this way, but at sunrise and sunset, I don't see a lot of clouds around a mountain. And looking at clouds around Mount Rainier, because I live in Pacific Northwest, around Seattle, actually Tacoma area, I'm always seeing Mount Rainier, and a lot of times in the morning and evening there isn't any clouds around it. But then there's sometimes you can't even see it because it's just completely covered by clouds. Sometimes you can see the top of it but not the bottom because the clouds are at the bottom. So it feels like it's everywhere. So I think the main thing, especially when I'm looking at my piece here, my painting, is getting that understanding of space and perspective, because clouds follow perspective just like anything else. And the problem I'm having is I have this, what I want to seem like a super tall mountain, right? But I think it's too high. So I want it to be super tall and very distant, but I think it's too high or too tall within perspective, because most mountains of that height at that distance would be smaller. And because I popped it, the tip of it all the way to the top of the canvas, it's probably going to be an issue. So I'm still going to deal with it because, even though it may not be accurate to life, this is a digital painting, and maybe we can make up something so it still looks believable with the clouds, but not realistic. Yeah, it looks like the stream is going to be buffering. Sorry about that. It's either my internet or my settings on OBS, so apologize. But there's always going to be kind of pauses for me. So looking for clouds, to get this understanding of clouds around a mountain, how they interact with a mountain in some way and how they describe distance. Now, the one person that I really enjoy a lot in looking at his work is Philip A. Ulrich on ArtStation. He does a ton of these landscapes, and really I'm deeply influenced by a lot of his work. A lot of his work looks a lot like Albert Bierstadt as well, which I love. So you can kind of see it in a lot of his work here. So I'm really looking at how he treats clouds as well, because they're really fantastical, very epic, and they have everything that I want. But I hesitate to pull from him, especially with the whole AI thing going on. There's enough stealing going on in some cases. So I want to see if I can get, some kind of understanding with clouds from imagery in real life. So here's a far distant image of Everest. This is what I see a lot around Mount Rainier, is these kind of, a hat on top of the mountain, a hat of clouds. So, maybe I'll do something like that. I'm not sure. Well, if anything, I know is what I have currently is not working, so I'm going to keep looking. And there's just a ton of images. It's a wonderful thing about living in this time is you can find, just a million images of anything you search for. And I'm searching on Google here. I'm not going into any of the stock photo sites right now. But I've already reached the other page, so let's see. Let's just do a search for Everest sunrise. Look at all. Let's go to Shutterstock and see what Shutterstock's got. Yeah, a lot of these images, I mean, they have either the clouds far in the distant with all that coloration, or no clouds at all. Or here's some that it's like kind of a mist coming off the mountain, which is really fantastic. Wow, that looks unbelievable. Like some of these, I mean, this is real life. This is wild, worldwide photography. Some of these images, it's like, wait, did AI do this? Because it looks so fantastical. Like this can't be real life. And the fact that I'm asking that question is kind of, the sign of the times, right? Yeah, sorry for the buffering on the stream. Okay. This is really nice because it's kind of has some similar shape to my mountain, but you can feel that distance there as far as the clouds are concerned. But I don't know. It's not really sparking any ideas in my head. I'm very close to just saying, okay, we're going to do this without clouds. Because I would need to start another painting over and just figure out clouds. At least figure out all of the perspective with clouds first and then get deeper into it. So this is the thing about, oh, well, that's nice. This is the thing about painting is there's always a push that you can have with a painting. I see a lot of paintings, or kind of hobbyist painters, or even artists that do it professionally that paint a painting, and you can kind of tell that they've given up at one point, and they're just like, yeah, that's good enough, and or maybe they just don't know, because a lot of old paintings like mine are the same way. They're just not that good because I didn't have the skill at the time. But always striving to do a little bit more, get it a little bit more accurate, a little bit more polished and finished is important. So let's do this. Let's do Everest sunset and see if something different comes up. And maybe you know what? Instead of sunrise and sunset, let's just do Mount Everest. This way, I can just see, how clouds, a cloud formation that I like around Everest in some way. I think most of the photographs chosen, or the photographers that choose them, like to silhouette Everest into its own thing. And I've seen this multiple times. See, this image here is cut out like this is Everest, but then they put a completely different um, cloud background on it, and it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look right at all. All right, let's try mountain clouds. Yeah, sorry for just having a whole stream of me searching for things, but honestly, I like these streams to be accurate to real life. Um, there's tons of places on YouTube you can go for entertainment, and watching someone paint on a live stream and not talking, getting deep into it, just entertaining kind of painting show. But this is for I do my live streams, and everything I do is I want it to be some type of learning experience for everyone. Well, learning experience for people that want to be artists. And I'm an artist, and this is what I'm dealing with right now. Looking at frickin' images to figure out clouds. So this one's interesting. This formation here, how it's low and the peak kind of shoots through. That's interesting. But I'm honestly, I'm just not seeing anything that's gonna work. All right, let's look at Philip A. Ulrich on ArtStation, and I'm gonna really use him as a influence for this piece. This guy's a professional artist. He's so good. He just posted a cover for Dragonlance, Dragons of Fate, with these just beautiful mountains in the background. If you're not on ArtStation, please jump on ArtStation, follow Philip. He's got a tutorial on ArtStation as well, where he walks through, and I purchased this. He walks through the painting of one of these landscapes. It's really good. He shows how he works up a lot of these landscapes, and it's very informative. And it's inexpensive. I mean, really good. Unfortunately, it was more about the mountains and not the clouds, so I'm now I'm trying to figure out this whole cloud thing still. Okay, this one could be interesting because it's a very distant mountain with a foreground, and the clouds are doing this thing, but he's got that space above that I think I need. But I'm not going to move that mountain around on my piece. I like how everything's kind of fuzzed out in the background. It looks like he intentionally kind of did that, and everything is a bit more sharp in the foreground. That's something I'll have to look at doing. Oh, darn it. It loses my place. I'll open that in a new tab just for reference. Here's another one. Let's look at that one. I mean, this has a very similar composition. Oh, look at this drawing. There you go. That's how you draw it. Oh, great job, Philip. Oh my goodness. This has a similar composition as mine, and you can see the clouds are just way up there and very simple. Yeah. I kind of like that. You know, let's make the clouds not as prevalent as they are right now. Not as much of a compositional piece. Okay, let's do it. I have this awesome cloud brush from GD Quest that I'm going to use to help me kind of throw in some cloud shapes. I have also, I think I had this artist here from ArtStation. I don't have their name. Oh, darn it. I'll have to get names on these, next time. But I like the colors. I like this really dark purple here. So what I'm going to do is I have a Phillips piece down there or up on a different screen. And what I'm doing is just kind of looking at some shapes of clouds. And trying to do something similar. The one thing I have noticed is, there's a level of distance. So I could have this cloud shape here, okay? And then maybe I create a new layer, and then underneath of it with a bit smaller brush, I have another cloud layer, and that's probably two. It doesn't really look like another cloud layer. And these are more like foreground clouds, and that's what I was kind of going for. This kind of foreground element. Maybe they're poking up around there as well. And then let's create another layer. And very small. Going in the distance. Very light. So light that I have to be quiet and it'll go away. I'm gonna group these. I mean, it's a foreground element for these clouds, but I really want a distant element. So I'm trying to think, if I put clouds here, kind of, within this area, I'm wondering what the coloration would look like. I know they'd be smaller, and they'd be a lot lighter. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, I have this dark purple. So when things go in the distance, they're going to get lighter and less saturated. So that's basically a gray. I don't have as much control with that color picker as I want right now. So, I mean, heck, that is just as gray as you can get with a purple. Yeah, see, picking within, these kind of color pickers is just not working for me. I need to desaturate this color. So keep the same value, yet desaturate. And I need to learn this color picker to see, what these little bars are actually doing. Man, it's all about learning here. So let's see what happens. So I put this down as a cloud kind of coming from the background behind that mountain. And I think it's too dark. I desaturated it, yes, but I didn't make it dark enough or light enough. So let's lighten it a bit. And this is basically the dark side of this cloud. So, you know, the clouds are like anything else. They have form to them. So when you put light on them, they're going to have, you know, a top side, you know, a side to them, a bottom, or whatever. Maybe that it goes in front of this mountain, like Matthew Condon was suggesting. Oh, Thinker's here. Hey, Thinker, good morning, Chris. Do you have a chance to view my Instagram page? No, I didn't. Not yet. Hopefully you sent me an email or something. I honestly don't look at my email until later in the day. If I look at my email too early, you probably maybe sent me a contact form on my website. Either's cool. But I will eventually check it out. I don't know, did you want me to look at it on stream? I could. Let's see, and then maybe... You know, that needs to be a lot smaller. See, what I'm doing, what I messed up on there is I didn't make my cloud brush small enough. You know, this is really distant clouds. It needs to be smaller. I'm really just making up stuff here. It's probably gonna look terrible, but you know what? I got a whole bunch more paintings in me. And I'll learn better as I do more paintings. Yeah, Thinker, let me know if you want me to look at it on stream or off stream. I can even do, you know, somewhat of a critique of your work if you like. That would be kind of cool. A lot of artists are kind of afraid of critiques, but I've been getting and giving critiques for most of my life. If you are looking for honest feedback, I would love to give it. All right, let's bring in some color to those. I'm really liking the distant clouds. Actually, this one back here needs to be a bit darker because it's in shadow. So I'm going to go back to full dark on the cloud color, or, you know, low value. Maybe add in a bit of blue there. I really think Matthew is onto something, because bringing those clouds down and making them smaller really kind of push that into the background. I'm questioning if I even need yeah, the foreground elements are kind of good. Yeah. I'd love a critique. The page is 888 Thinker. I don't mind if it's on live stream either. Okay. Okay, I'll work on these clouds in a bit. Let me go to Instagram. Actually, let me go in the other browser window. Hopefully, there's not a lot of nudity. I have to look at it first. I mean, I don't mind nudity, but it's probably not so good for YouTube. Oh, cool. Nice. No, these are great. This is great. Okay. So this is the individual person known as Thinker who's always on this stream. Follow back, very first thing. And oh, that's really annoying when they do that. All right, let's look at some of these paintings. Oh wow, you got some good paintings here. This one is obviously on its side. That needs to be turned around. Or whenever you get a chance there, Thinker. But let's start with your latest, your latest post. Let's see when this was posted. 1 day ago. Nice. Okay. All right, so the first thing I'm going to say on this, and well, let me preface this, because I did a whole video on giving and getting feedback on your artwork. And I like, there's always something good, and there's always something to improve. And a good critique is going to have a bit of both. I'm not going to be like your mother, who says, oh, this is wonderful and awesome, everything you do. And I'm not going to be like the jerk on the street that says, you suck, right? A nice in-between, something you can learn from. But great job on posting your work on Instagram. That's huge for a lot of artists. A lot of artists are not, don't do that. So number one, great job there. So the first critical thing that I would say here on this piece is not about the piece itself, but about the photograph. Not only is it off kilter, kind of, not straightened, not vertical, but it's really fuzzy. It looks like it was taken from a cell phone camera or something that maybe a camera in very low light, so it has a lot of, what do they call it, fuzz to it, because the camera has pushed up the ISO to like this massive level, so it does this kind of grainy thing looking to it. So it's hard to look at the details, but that's totally fine as well, because we don't want to look at the details for a lot of this. Details can come later, but looking at the main structure of a painting, the structure of the portrait, and that's another really good thing. I feel the structure of this head. I can't tell a lot about the drawing, if it's accurate in a lot of ways, but I can tell that there is a lot of structure here. I can feel the turn of the forehead from light to dark. I like that there's some higher saturated colors within this. Let me see if I can zoom in. No, Instagram's not letting me do that on the website. I can see that there are some higher saturated colors, and I like that within skin, definitely. One of my latest paintings I did, a few months ago, was of a dark-skinned individual, and it was wonderful trying to get an understanding of the change of light and dark and how quickly it is. Like for a Caucasian individual or a lighter skinned individual, this transition will be a bit more broad. This halftone going from highlight will be much more broad, but for a dark-skinned individual, it's different. There's a really quick change. So you grab that, I can see those highlights everywhere. It looks great. I can feel the change in, yeah, there's a lot of really good drawing here. A lot of great form on the cheeks. I can feel the nose. So there's a deep understanding of the form of the head here. So very nice. I think there is, some drawing that can be improved. It feels like this eye is a little bit too close to the left. So some drawing issues that will happen in a lot of paintings. I love the purples that are in the hair and some greens, it looks like. I'm not sure if that's the photograph, but like just, different coloration. So you're looking at, you have this understanding of color, of real life. There's wonderful artists out there that do some amazing paintings, but when they do skin or they do objects, it's like you can tell that they mix a color on their palette beforehand, and then they do just a value range within that color, and it looks very plastic. It doesn't look like reality. So I really see a lot of difference in the coloration in the hair and the face, and so that's fantastic. Really good there. The composition, it needs a lot of help. The For some reason she's kind of pushed to the right of the picture, and some of her hair is at the edge, but the rest of her is kind of faded out in some way. You know, this kind of silhouette. That may be by choice, but you know, I'd have to question why not finish the entirety of this person's body here. It doesn't lend itself well to the composition. It honestly looks like, all right, I've done enough. The person wants this painting or something, and then you stopped and you just kind of fuzzed it out and you were done there. And there's even some brown here. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe she had her arms crossed and there was a hand there you started on, and then you kind of just said, okay, we're not going to do that. And that could be good in some ways. Maybe you made a decision, okay, this painting is just taking too long. I'm not motivated on it anymore. This is good enough. She loves it. If it is a gift, or I love it, so I'm gonna just quit and just finish it, and that's fine. But as a viewer, it's kind of like, yeah, I want to see more. I want to see a bit more about this person. But the one thing I like the expression. It looks contemplative in some ways, kind of thought provoking. Yeah, that's nice. There's a lot of really good stuff here. A lot of really good stuff. Interesting that you chose a pink and purple background. This kind of cloud background. I have this feeling maybe that this person is no longer with us, which is really sad. Maybe they're in the clouds. Hopefully that's not the case, but if it is, then you did a great job of communicating that in the narrative. So great painting there. Great job. Hopefully that's one of your latest paintings, and we can see the growth that's happening. Oh, here's another portrait. So I'm going to focus on these two portraits here for right now. Because, well, if I look at everything as a whole on your Instagram right now, the strong points are in these two portraits, most definitely, and this still life here. The rest of everything else is kind of weak in a lot of ways. Even though this one's very detailed, I think it goes way overboard on the detail. But yeah, the two portraits and this still life is working really well. So let's look at this portrait here, because I think there could be a lot going on. Okay, so we have a better photograph. That's really nice. It looks like you painted on canvas, or maybe board. Maybe that's canvas, and you taped off the sides, yet it bled underneath. So I see what you're doing there. You're trying to create a kind of frame around it, but the bleed, that's going to happen definitely, especially if you used solvents or something. It's just going to, that solvent's just going to eat right up through that glue and pull the paint directly underneath in some ways. Although in most cases, most of it, it's fine. But it's distracting. It's honestly really distracting. I would have left the frame to do that. Or painted it on paper or something. But that really distracts away from everything else. It honestly, it would have been a bit better if you just painted white around it, or maybe a black or a color around that, and kept that sharp, like a window or something, or even a darker color would be maybe a better choice. It's kind of like, you're doing, and I'm going to assume that this is oil paint, and I've assumed that the other one is oil paint. It feels like oil paint to me. I see scratches into it, so I'm going to say yes, it's oil paint. It looks like a scrape here with a palette knife. I feel some what do you call it? Not stippling. Glazing going on, so that's good. But it feels like you have an oil painting, and I'm still on this frame thing. And you're like, oh, just focus on the what I did, not the frame. But it's all in one. It's the whole thing comes as a big package. Um, it feels like, usually a paperwork or a printed work would have, like you did the oil painting, you printed it out, and then they would put it in a frame, like a white frame, or a white mat, and then a frame around it. That's what it feels like. It's been matted, like you're trying to do the whole matting thing. Maybe the person that you did this for requested that. Um, I would have pushed back on that tremendously, but it's distracting. So I'll move away from that. Okay. So the drawing here is well done. There's some issues with form here. There's a lack of understanding of form, and it could be the photograph that you worked from. Hopefully you worked from a photograph. It looks like you did. Where a lot of times, especially with Caucasian individuals, when they have a huge area of lit skin, it's really difficult to see the subtle changes within that skin and describe the form within that. Because I know that there's going to be, and you have it here. Here's where the brow will change from front plane to side plane. And you have, another plane right in the center here. It's like a big square. But then it would go to the side plane here, but we lose it here. So there's a big circle here that would happen. And there would probably need to be a little bit of a change in value to describe that form change. Because right now it's pretty flat. Especially up in here with the kind of fuzz of the hair that's there. You've outlined the cranium, and when you put an outline on anything, it's kind of like cartoons. They put outlines on things and it flattens it, so that further flattens this whole area of the head. I feel the form here on the right, but then it flattens out here. It's just kind of this big flat thing, and then it drifts off to the background. So getting a better understanding of that would be good. Of course, this is a finished painting. You do it on another painting. But then also, one thing I do like about this is the different coloration. So you're looking at the yellow and the red within the skin, the alizarin crimson, maybe some yellow ochre in there. And you're really trying to understand, the variation of color in the skin. So that's really nice. The form, the form of this head is really, there's a lot of learning that could be done here. The eyes sit deeper into the brow ridge, and so the values here would be just very subtly darker, to really push the brow out and push the eyes back some and really kind of force that form. You feel it more over here, but then the eyelid, this top eyelid, has such a sharp line to it that it's the whole eye has kind of been brought forward. And this is interesting, the what glasses do with light, they kind of move everything around. And that works really well. It's a bit sharp in some places, and, there's some question what's going on back there, but that works well. I like how you weren't afraid to just, don't worry about the dark side and just keep it all kind of faded out into nothing, where you don't even see it. But there's a lot of blue on this face here. It's really warm at the top, but then blue here. You probably saw some blue hues, but you made them maybe a little bit too closer to blue itself. And that has really kind of affected the painting in some way. We have warm shadow, and then very blue shadow, and very cool shadow here. If you're using black at all, I would say pull, especially for portraits and skin, pull black off of your palette completely. if you really want to, um, if you really want to get skin tones in the shadow area looking a bit better, work with burnt umber, ultramarine, and alizarin crimson. If you add those three together, burnt umber, ultramarine, and alizarin crimson, you'll get something that is black as black, but it'll also have kind of a coloration with inside of it that you can adjust. Maybe a bit more ultramarine, a bit more alizarin crimson, and in this case, a bit more burnt umber would have worked here to keep everything a bit warm. And then you can play with the mixture, that mixture. You're probably not using black. Maybe there's some here, but there's too much gray within this eye here. I like the saturation in these glasses. Really pops them forward. I can feel, like, you got the highlight of the nose, the transition from the top of the nose to the front and down. I lose it a bit with the nostrils. And then you get into well, let's talk about the ear and the side of the face. There could be some transition of form there, just like with the head at the top, or the forehead. Need a transition. It's kind of all flattened out here. That probably was with the lighting. And then I do like the beard. I think that it could be done better with less individual hairs. And kind of looking at the structure of hair or beard and try and build it up as, kind of a blocky structure, and not doing, all the individual hairs. Probably make your life a bit easier. And I can see that you're working with like stippling on this side of it to kind of get that texture. And the one thing that's really nice is that it has a different texture. I see professional artists do this all the time, where they just forget about texture and everything. And so the hair, the face, and the shirt, and the glasses, everything has the same texture, when it's not like that. You really have to understand texture. And I can feel a definite difference between the texture of the beard and the skin. So that's really good. But I will say the texture of the skin is pretty similar to the texture of the clothing here. I don't know what's going on with the neck area. It's kind of like you lost steam down here, and with the clothing, with the shirt. You worked your butt off on this head, and then you're like, okay, I really don't know what's going on down here. Just kind of lost interest, and it's kind of muddy. It's just, there's no definite structure going on within there. So that it looks like probably that's one of the best things for you to work on, because you got the structure in this portrait. You have the drawing, you have the structure, but then you faded out the bottom and the side and everything. So working on the longevity for your artwork, and taking it to the finish. I do like the background here. I mean, that coloration works well. It's just kind of like faded out cloud. Like I just now noticed it. Like, it was unintrusive. Yeah, looks good. It's kind of like an old master type background. But yeah, very good on both of those paintings, definitely. Let's look at your still life real quick. Yeah, not a great photo. I know that oil paintings a lot are hard to take photos of because of the glare. I need to do a very in-depth video on how to do that. I would say, okay, action items. So great paintings. These three here are really good. This is like a completely different style. And I'm not sure, it looks like maybe you were looking at a different artist for that. Too detailed here. But great job on a lot of these. I mean, you're definitely above the cut with these three works. Yeah, I can see the skill. So the action items for you would be paint more, and see if you can make, and you may be painting a bunch, you're just not sharing it, and I don't know, but keep painting every day. Maybe smaller paintings, smaller figures, and take them all the way to a finish, as much as you can. And, here's a person that's saying that when, you know, a lot of the paintings I do, they just kind of die on the canvas because I'm transitioning so much to different things right now. But paint more, try to take it to a finish. If you've taken it this far, you know, finish off the figure, finish off the clothing and everything, and take it to a similar finish that you would have on the face. And remember, it's just, you could do all this work on the face, and then if you don't do that same work down here, give it the same attention, it could just detract away from everything. Yeah, just keep painting. These are really good. Yeah, very good. Great job. Great job, Thinker888. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate that. I know it's hard sometimes. And hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully you got something out of that. Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to this painting, and I'll keep watching the chat there to see if you have any other questions. How long have I been here? Oh, wow. It's already 4:30 for me. Fantastic critique. Thank you so much for taking the time. Wonderful detail in your analysis. Thanks. Hey, anytime, dude. I'm here for you. Or doodad. Sorry. I'm assuming male. I apologize. Well, I would love to spend more time on this, but I have to get to a snack, and then I'm working on a tutorial for an actual oil painting that I'm recording, and I really want to get to that because it's a figure painting, and it's been a while since I've done a figure painting. But what I will do is take a screenshot of this painting by Philip A. Ulrich real quick, and I will throw it into Krita so that I can remind myself next time that I'm kind of working from this structure of clouds and still working on the cloud thing. So yeah, this stream was supposed to be all about clouds, and half of it was, but then a person that's been showing up all the time asked a question for a critique, and yeah, I had to respond. Yeah, you give me the time, I give you the time. So thanks for showing up, thanks for being here, and I will see you tomorrow. Or I will watch your text tomorrow. I won't see you. You will hear me tomorrow.